Hi, and welcome to A Drummer's Guide to the podcast, all about the things that it takes to be a professional musician, aside from actually playing your instrument. My name is Emily Dolan Davies. I'm a drummer by trade, and I'm here to just, share my experience with you. Hopefully it can help, if even just to be like, oh, I'm not alone in feeling like that. Now, apologies, I'm getting over a coldy thingy. I don't even know what it was. So I might be sound a little bunged up and be a little coffee occasionally. So apologies up front, but it is what it is. I'm actually going to do an episode on being sick as a session musician, because I think it's so important to kind of like just be prepared for when that happens, because it will happen. It will happen. But anyway, let's talk today, though, about performance anxiety. Now, today's episode, I'm actually going to do a little bit differently because I put out a call on my Instagram, just kind of just seeing what topics really resonated with people. I want to make sure basically that I'm actually hitting things that are relevant to people. I'm not about just doing things for the sake of it. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, if I'm the only one that's experiencing something, then it becomes a bit of a indulgent situation. And trust me when I tell you, sitting here chatting to myself essentially already feels really uncomfortable in the self-indulgent side of things. So I just thought, right, to mitigate that, let me actually make sure that I am making a difference and connecting with people. So I put out a call and just sort of said, here are some topics, like what resonates with you. Did a poll type thing. Didn't do a quiz like I did last time because I'm an old lady and I'm not understanding how social media works apparently now, which is so annoying. Anyway, did a poll, and one of the things that really was hitting with people was performance anxiety. So I sort of reached out to people and just was like, can you just tell me, like, give me a bit more information about your experience of performance anxiety? Because personally, of course I have performance anxiety, but mine... So I'll talk to you about what mine is and how I combat it, and then I'm actually going to use some other people's experiences. I'm not going to name them because I don't think that's fair. I haven't had a chance to ask them, to be honest, for their permission, so I won't do that. But if you're listening, you'll know that it's you because it's what you told me. And can I just say a big thank you to those that were just able to be that vulnerable with me. Like, it really is not lost on me, and I really do not take for granted that people are willing to be vulnerable with me, because it's hard, it's difficult, it can feel icky. And I just want to say how much I appreciate it, and I don't take it lightly. I really do. I guard your feelings and experiences like with all of my heart, because it's a thing. So anyway, right, my experience of performance anxiety. Now, the way that mine sort of manifests itself is nowhere near the stage. What is it? Very occasionally, but I'll come to that. So, well, hopefully I will, if I can remember to come to that. You know what I'm like, I can be a bit all over the shop. So mine, generally speaking, comes in the lead up to any performance. Not any performance, actually, it really depends. If it's a new situation or something that is very challenging, it will be, it could be months beforehand, and I'll notice it. I will notice that I'm feeling stressed, like I feel anxious about it. And what happens with me is that I start to imagine and dream about as well the worst case scenario happening, and just like, for me it's often not feeling good enough. So I have visualization, should we say, images in my head of not being able to do the work, being asked to leave, people being around me thinking, why is she here? She doesn't deserve to be here. She's not good enough to be here. How did this happen? Like, what's the reason that she's actually here? That sort of thing. That's kind of my biggest fear, and that's the thing that's how performance anxiety manifests with me. It's essentially imposter syndrome. That's sort of the top and bottom of it. And like I say, what I do, because that's how it sort of comes about, and like I say, it will be months before something, or let's say it's a last minute thing. Honestly, I don't really have the time to get all het up about it, so it's actually better when things come in last minute, because I just am like, right, I'm on this roller coaster, let's go. I just need to deal with it and kind of put out fires. But when I have time to think about it, that's when things go wrong for me. So what I do personally is I basically I let my imposter syndrome dictate to me where I should be focusing my energy, and that can be from a physical standpoint of playing, and I will concentrate on very specific things. The last time that I really excuse me, where performance anxiety really took hold was definitely the Voice Kids, like constantly. It was because of the variety of genres and songs that you do, and the situation that you're put in is so what's the word, varied, I suppose, and very unpredictable, to say the least. And you're in the room with arguably some of the best, in fact not even arguably, just some of the best musicians in the country. I was like a cesspool for imposter syndrome. I'm not sure that makes sense, but you know what I'm saying. It was a very it was a good mix for that kind of situation. I'm getting really warm already. I might have to pause and open up these doors to get some air in, or maybe I can wait till in a bit. Anyway, so what I would do is, I would let that imposter syndrome really inform, right, what am I feeling like iffy about? What am I feeling wobbly about? That's often how I feel, like wobbly, because when I play, when I'm on stage, let me tell you, everything I play is solid. It feels like concrete. There are foundations. I feel grounded. That's how I feel. Like, you can see it, if you're watching, you can see it in my body language. It helps I'm sitting on a drum stool right now. Like, when I'm playing, I'm here. Like, everything is in my stomach, and it's just like, ugh. That's how it feels to me. It's kind of, it's very solid. There's no room for sort of like, ish. There's no ish about when I'm playing on stage. When I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. But what that means is I have to make sure that those foundations are in place beforehand. So obviously I practice like crazy, but for me, a big part of it also is visualizing good things happening and it going well and people being happy, because a lot of my imposter syndrome comes from other people's views of me, which is not healthy. It's not good. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna, chastise myself because that's how I feel. I'm working on it. I am having therapy. It's very, very good. I would recommend it to anyone. But these thoughts still appear, and I kind of accept that and go, okay, right, I'm feeling like those people or that person is going to be looking at me going, what the hell are you doing here? Like, you don't deserve to be here. It's very much that. You don't deserve to be here. So what I'll do is I'll consciously visualize them really like happy, excited to be playing with me, just like all these positive vibes going on, basically. That's what I will do. I will literally sit and visualize that, and whether that's in a social situation, whether that's usually in a playing situation. So I will sit and listen to whatever the songs are that we're meant to be playing. If I can, I'll listen to a version where I'm playing with the song, so that it's as realistic as possible, if you like, and I will imagine those people or that person around me being really happy, being really into it, like us vibing, you know what I mean? Vibing together and just really being in that space, in the pocket together, just on the same wavelength. So that's what I will do. And it's just so that I know going into the situation, I will feel as confident as I possibly can be. Now, look, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that I still don't have moments where performance anxiety does take over, and I can spot it. And I end up, let's say it's happening in the moment, which does occasionally happen for me. Often for me, It's when I'm about to do a fill that is out of my wheelhouse, as it were. I may have practiced it loads, but there's something for me, or there's a difference between practicing something to the nth degree that you can play it and it being in your bones. There are certain things that are in my bones. Like, there is no question. I'm just like, no, it's part of me. But again, when you're doing a TV show like The Voice Kids, the variety of genres and styles that you have to play, inevitably there are songs that you're just like, this is not my forte. I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing a version of what this should be. I'm trying to make it sound as legit as possible. But you know, sometimes it's just not in your bones. If you haven't done it for the whole of your life, you've just got to try and do the best imitation that you can, quite honestly, and try and sell it, if you like, as like, this is legit. So I would find myself, like I say, I can kind of settle when it comes to like rhythms and all that, because that is in my bones. Like, it's just part of my DNA. I'm a rhythmic person. However, as you know, if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, things that make me a little bit uncomfortable at anything around the improvisation or soloing side of things. And what that includes is kind of, what's the word? Like slightly more complex or flamboyant or, I don't know, fills that are kind of a feature. Let's say that, like a feature. So occasionally I would, as I'm coming up to doing a fill, in the moment, whilst we're recording, whilst the cameras are on, I would catch myself going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like freaking out. Like, again, I'm on this roller coaster and we're about to come up to the top and we're about to head down, and heading down is this fill, and it's either going to happen or it isn't going to happen. So I have to kind of very quickly talk to myself, and because I know in myself, as soon as I start worrying, questioning, doubting my ability, 9 times out of 10, probably more than that, 99 times out of 100, I will fall over in some respect. I will fall over myself. It might be in a tiny way that only I would recognize. It might be in a way that other people might notice. Rarely is it that, can I just say, but you know, occasionally it does happen. So I need to, like, what I quickly do in that moment, and I'm talking like in a bar or two before, I sort of say to myself, you've done this, you can do this because you've done it, it's okay, you've been playing for 25 years at this point, like, you have the skills, like, just trust, relax, you can do this. And it's kind of this self-talk of like, in a way, it's actually not mean, but it's definitely not kind. It's kind of more on the mean side of things, to just being like, stop being so silly, stop being ridiculous. And I wouldn't recommend that that's how you talk to yourself, to be honest. But in that moment, it works for me. It's just like, yeah, look, just the best way to approach this is if I don't think about it and if I just go for it. So, and again, I do have that logic in myself of like, if you start thinking, like, worrying you're going to get this wrong, you're going to get this wrong. So let's just go for it. Wrong and strong, as they say. I love that saying for I like the ethos, but actually wrong and strong, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I do like the ethos, but in my reality, it would be like wrong and breakdown. But anyway, that's going to bring me on to something else actually in a minute, which I found fascinating from other people's responses. So anyway, that's kind of how I deal with that. There was definitely something I was meant to touch upon and I can't remember what it was, so I apologise for that. Hopefully I'll remember, or yeah, when I watch this back to edit it, maybe I'll do a whole other episode just on the little thing that I've forgotten. Sorry, it's me. So anyway, so if I were in your position, it would kind of be like noticing when the anxiety strikes, like, is it just before you go on stage? And then it's like, okay, why am I feeling anxious? Is it because I'm worried about something happening? Is it because I am seeing something in my mind's eye? Am I hearing something in my mind's ear? Like, what is happening? What am I afraid of? What's the fear? Like, what is the root cause of this anxiety? And then just seeing what you can do to mitigate that, essentially. And like I say, I do that mainly by visualization, and talking to myself in a kind of like, when it matters, in the moment, when because it does happen in the moment, and you know, just trying to help regulate, I suppose, the fear, and just recognizing logically that if I feel anxious about this, it's going to make me more wobbly, which is not going to make me perform better. So let me come back to, and again, this feeling of, for me, the feeling of strength and solidity and foundational, just, I don't know, that strength comes from my stomach. There's a certain way that I sit when I'm on the kit. And what I do is I try and tap into that. I try and become very aware of that. I almost try to recreate it if I'm not feeling it, because honestly, when I start getting anxious or unsure about what I'm playing, I come up, like everything comes up. All my feelings come more in my chest, and it's kind of more surface level. That's why I always say when I'm uncomfortable, things feel surface level. It feels difficult. It feels very what's the word, like not fake, but just trying to do something versus actually feeling it in my bones. And for me, as soon as I feel it in my bones, it's down, it's in my stomach. So if I can almost in a way artificially create that, it brings that feeling of solidity to something that I'm maybe unsure about, and bringing it into that space really helps me, basically. I don't know if that makes any sense, and I apologize if you're listening to this if any of that translated particularly well, considering it's quite a visual thing that I'm doing. But yeah, I hope that kind of speaks to you in some way. But anyway, I wanted to try this new thing of kind of like literally addressing what other people have said to me, because I quite like this as an idea, as a concept. Please do let me know if you like this, because if you do, I'm going to do more of it, because it makes sense to me to literally answer or talk on subjects that people are actually struggling with, like literally verbatim. So I've got some stuff written down in front of me, and I will read what people have said. Again, I'm going to keep people anonymous, but thank you to everyone that did actually reach out to me. So the first person said to me, so this one's interesting. This one's super interesting, actually. So they said to me, I should be looking, so the anxiety comes from them telling themselves, I should be looking happy, or like I'm enjoying it, or be better, or be playing more interesting things. And I love this because it encapsulates so many things to me that is difficult. It's difficult. I almost want to pick it apart word by word, because it's kind of got so many things about it. So the first thing is I should. Should is the most horrendous word ever, and I really, really would suggest that you notice if you're using that word with yourself a lot, because should suggests that you're comparing yourselves to other people and what they're doing, and I think that's one of the most detrimental things that you can do in the arts, because it's art and it's meant to be from within and honest and all those things, and it's hard to do that if you're looking at other people, basically. So first thing, get rid of should. Change it to could. I could be looking happy. Okay, great. That kind of softens it, and it makes it less judgmental, and it makes it less harsh on yourself. Like, it makes it a little kinder. Now, in terms of like looking happier or like you're enjoying it, I used to have this problem too. I absolutely used to have this problem for years and years and years. And I'm almost tempted to, in fact, I'm going to find a little video and I'm going to put it up on Instagram just to show you that I like exactly that. And it's and what they were saying was, I am enjoying it inside, but on the outside, I look bored. I look like I'm not enjoying it at all, like I'm not happy. And I was like, yep, I remember that. I remember that feeling so darned well. And for me, I was like, right, there's a disconnect here. So I need to find the bridge. What's the bridge going to be between me feeling like I'm enjoying it and I'm in it, to it translating on the outside? Now, obviously, you know, life is not about just performing or whatever, and what, you know, it's such a difficult thing, because we do live in this kind of Instagram culture. Everything needs to be seen to be so wonderful. Oh, my stomach is rumbling. Seen to be, you know, perfect and great and amazing and da-da-da-da-da. Now, I'm not advocating kind of always doing things to present as a certain way, if that makes sense, because I think there's great value in being honest with what you're feeling. But if you are feeling like you're enjoying it and it's not translating, to me, like, why would you not want people to see how much you're enjoying it? Basically, that's kind of my train of thought with that. If you're not enjoying it, don't do things to make yourself feel like you're enjoying it, because I see that on stage a lot. To me, it is the most cringy thing ever. I can't bear it. I can tell that, like, as soon as people aren't honest about what they're playing and how they're playing it, it's just gross to me. It feels disgusting. I feel like I feel gross. I feel so gross. So don't do that. I wouldn't recommend that, not at all. But what I would recommend is finding a way to either bridge that gap between I feel like I'm enjoying it, I don't look like I'm enjoying it, or if you're not enjoying it, find a way to enjoy it and then make that bridge to looking like you're enjoying it, or just translating those emotions well. Because it's not even just about enjoyment, it's just about honesty and emotion. Because for me, sometimes I'm having a grand old time on stage, I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm singing along, ba 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 ba. Sometimes I am angry when I'm playing, and I look like I'm angry when I'm playing. I'm shouting, you know what I mean? So it's more about being able to bridge the gap between the emotions of what you're feeling to how you're performing. And for me, the thing that bridged that gap and opened up everything was singing along to songs when I was playing, because I've always loved lyrics anyway, and that's often how I get into a song's emotions. That's how I understand it. And as soon as I started singing along, and I will say, not with a mic on, you don't need that in your band. Trust me, you don't need me singing. There are plenty front of house engineers that will attest to this, who have used the wonderful mute button on my channel. So yeah, that was my way in. And as soon as I started like singing along and allowing myself to feel the emotions of the song, it started translating to my playing. And then I started filming myself and just seeing if that was translating, and it started to. And then I would just allow myself to be more vulnerable on stage, essentially. And the more that I did that, the more the performance came out, the more I focused on being I'm already a person that wants to know the material inside and out, but it became then about knowing the material so well that I could allow myself to feel the way I wanted to and perform the way that I wanted to in line with those emotions, if that makes sense. So I knew the songs well enough and could play them well enough that I could also be throwing myself around if it was a really energetic song, for instance. So that's how I kind of like dealt with that, and it really did translate. And that's when people started booking me, because it was all very coherent, if that makes sense. And what I also mean by that, in the same way, I'm sure you've seen the video of that dude, the drummer who's playing with the artist who's singing like this ballad, but he's doing these massive arm movements and he's going crazy, blah, blah, blah. I don't like that. It's a novelty thing. It's kind of, yeah, it's funny, but if you're a serious musician, it's not. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's not what I want to do. Like, absolutely not. So, yeah, for me, it's about honesty, vulnerability, and being able to be, I hate this word because it's so overused, being authentic in that. Sorry, I don't like that word at the moment. It's too much. So anyway, so there's that. And then in terms of feeling you should be better or playing more interesting things, again, I've had that feeling. I've played in bands where there's drummers in bands playing other instruments who are arguably better drummers than me in terms of playing interesting things. In fact, not even arguably, objectively, very objectively, much better than me at playing what I would consider more interesting things. However, I will always come back to when I feel like that, when I feel vulnerable in that way, or anxious in that way, I just think, why am I here? I'm here to serve the song. And I'm sorry, and this might be a very unpopular view, but it's my view. If a musician is playing and it is, to me, a song is a cohesive thing, coherent, cohesive, same thing, ish. It's a cohesive thing, and we're all playing this thing as one, and it's kind of like a rounded, beautiful, warm, like texture of a thing. Let's imagine it's like a big sphere. Maybe I want it to be oblong though, like an oblong sphere. I don't know what that's called. That's fine. When people start playing what I believe this person means by interesting things, to me that means maybe a bit of a flashy fill. Now, if that is not in the context of the song, that is like this jaggedy little thing that points out of this beautifully round, wonderful, warm sphere, and it becomes this jaggedy little moment. This like sharp, it catches your attention, and not in a good way. And to me, that comes from, again, weirdly, actually thinking about this, I think that actually comes from an insecure place potentially, or a place of ego, but not, I don't mean in an egotistical way, but more like a, I don't know, just being like, I'm here kind of thing. But if you're playing, especially as a session musician, you're there to serve the artist, the song, the audience. Like, and arguably I'd say the song first, actually. The song, then the artist, then the audience. That's my way of looking at it. And so if you have that in your mind of just like, but am I serving the song? Yes, then you're doing your job. But am I serving the artist? Yes, then you're doing your job. But am I serving the audience? Yes, it's not about you. It's about the song and the artist. It's not about you. You're there to do a job. So therefore, you doing the thing? Yes. Great. If you want to, do all the flashy stuff, whatever, do it in your own band, or do it in, a practice room, or do it, in a masterclass. Like, do your own masterclass, whatever. That's fine. There's a time and a place. Absolutely. But, pick your time. Pick your time. It's not on stage with an artist. It's not for me at least. And again, that's my personal opinion. I know that there's people that would definitely disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I have no issue with that, but that's my personal ethos, and I'm okay with it. So anyway, that's the first person, and I love this. So the next person says, the main thing that gives me anxiety. Let's center, Emily, and chill. The main thing that the main thing that gives me anxiety during a performance is the fear of making a mistake and the fear of not being as good as other drummers I'm seeing elsewhere. I love this. I love this one. Again, it comes back to, this comparison of feeling like you should be doing something all flashy and you're not as good as any other drummer. Not any other drummers. You're not as good as other drummers. I think that's a mistake to kind of be comparing yourself, and I think it should be more about, okay, but why am I here? Why am I on this stage right now? And what is my job right now? Even if you're not being paid, like, what is my role as a drummer, for instance? Obviously, I know that everyone listening is playing different instruments. As a guitarist, as a bass player, as a backing vocalist, as a keys players, I didn't mean to leave you out. What is my job here? What am I actually meant to be doing here? And as long as you're in line with that, cool. Everything else, do it another time. Now is not the time. Like, if you're doing a performance, you need to be at your best. And part of that is knowing exactly what the outcome is and what you're meant to be doing. But I love this other idea of making a mistake and the fear of making a mistake, because I think that this is such a big thing that stops people from doing stuff. I'm sure I've been in that position. And for me, the way that I deal with the fear of making a mistake is, obviously I practice stuff to the nth degree that it means that I will hopefully minimize the chance of me making a mistake, like as much as physically possible. But what I will say is that I am human, and yes, I do make mistakes, and there is video evidence of me making mistakes, things that will exist forever in theory, and it's embarrassing. Yes, it is. But the reality is two things. First of all, there's a way that you can make mistakes that other people will not notice. Only you will, and that's fine. Because to me, that's a win. I remembered making a mistake on The Voice Kids. In fact, there were multiple that after we'd done a song, I said to the musical director, "Oh, just so you know, I made a mistake there. Like, can you?" Because they can fix stuff after the fact if need be. And I said, I made a mistake there. Like, would you be able to just fix that? It's here. Blah, 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 blah. And he was like, "Really?" I didn't notice anything, and I was like, "Oh." And he's a musical director, and his ears, oh my God, his ears are ridiculous, like ridiculous. And I'm thinking, okay, if you didn't hear that, then maybe my version of a mistake is just so, like, it's so minutiae that, I don't think that's the right way of saying that, but you know what I'm saying, that it's actually unnoticeable to the majority of people. And again, this guy's ears, I trust them implicitly. So if it didn't come for him, then I'm like, all right, cool, all right, we'll leave it then. That's fine, because I don't want to give anyone any extra work, so that's fine. So for me, my aim is for my mistakes to be so high level that nobody will notice. That's the aim. That's the ideal situation. However, sometimes mistakes happen and they are obvious. Mate, I had this thing, I did this gig, it was in Henley, do you know what, it wasn't even a mistake that was my fault necessarily, it's just my ears went down, I did the best I could, it was not good enough, it was very obvious, and it was awful, and it's online, and it's horrendous, it's my worst nightmare ever, it's just the worst thing ever, and I won't go into it because I can't even explain it in a coherent way, but essentially the crux of it was my ears went down, so therefore it was a silent stage, which means that I heard nothing. All I could hear was a slapback at this festival. It's with an artist called Tom Bailey from the Thompson Twins. So I was trying to play to the slapback. Let me tell you, not a good idea. This is the beginning of the set as well, and this was his first time playing in like 30 years. I mean, honestly, you couldn't have written it. It was so awful. So anyway, and once people realised that something was seriously wrong with me, because, you know, this isn't how I am, I ended up having to play to the keyboardist, literally she was just doing the click with her hand while she was playing on keys. So I was playing to the visual of her, like just bringing her hand down on the click. It was ridiculous. It was a crazy situation. It was horrendous. So let's count that as a mistake. Now that's pretty bad to the point that they were going to actually stop the whole show and start again. But we kind of pulled it back and it happened. And that's the point. We made it work and we carried on. And nobody died. And it wasn't ideal. I didn't get any reprimands for that. I literally did the best that I could, and it's like everyone is in agreement. It's just like we dealt with it. It wasn't ideal, but we couldn't have predicted that it was going to happen, so therefore we're just going to move forward with it. So I think that's it. It's kind of this thing of we are all human and things will happen and you can't mitigate everything, and at the end of the day it's music. If you make a mistake, yes, it might be a bit embarrassing. I'm still embarrassed by that. But so what? Like, nobody died. It's music. Yeah, someone might be upset. Yes, someone's ego might be bruised, including your own. Get over it. Move on. Like, it's all good. Which brings me actually to someone else said about how they dealt with it. And I think that this is so beautiful, and I couldn't agree more. It's also my philosophy 100%, which is they said, I learned to combat performance anxiety through extra practice, which is fine. It kind of seems obvious. But the next one, and getting back on stage as soon as I could. That, I believe, is one of the best things that you can do, because the longer that you leave it, the bigger that the monster grows, and it becomes this thing that you need to battle, versus if you're just like, right, I need to get back on stage before I can think about it too much and just get past this. Just do more, normalize. I think that's literally the best thing that you can do. And the thing is, the more that you do it, the more that you'll find out how you need to like mitigate the things that cause the poor performance anxiety, and the only way you're going to do that is by doing more of it and noticing more of what triggers you, and then what you can do to mitigate it. So I don't know whether that makes sense to you, but it made perfect sense. As soon as he said that, I was like, yep, 100% agree. So I think there's one other thing. This one. Right, this one's weird because I don't have experience of this, I don't think. Maybe one version, but it's such a tiny version that it doesn't even compare, and this had never crossed my mind. Okay, so this person said, I never had anxiety playing until uni, when suddenly you had someone assessing and marking your playing. Mate, it had never occurred to me how difficult that must be. And this is going back to comparing yourself to others. You're literally in a situation where you're constantly comparing yourself to other students. that must be horrendous in itself. But then alongside that, being marked for your performance seems so ludicrous to me, because it's creative, it's art. I don't understand. I literally cannot understand. I cannot understand. It doesn't make sense to me. It really, really doesn't. Like, you can't mark music. It doesn't fly with me. I can't even work out an answer to what that is, because if you're in uni, you need the marks to get your degree or whatever, which I totally get. But it's like, I don't understand what that means. So, I mean, the only thing that I can think of, and this is completely, off the top of my head, because again, I have zero experience in an academic situation and being marked, aside from A levels. But that wasn't actually my drumming. My drumming was never marked. It was just a given. It was like, yeah, you do that thing. I literally have no experience of this. But if I were in that position, how would I deal with it? I think I'd do two things. I think I'd first of all go to the examiners and find out exactly what they're looking for. What is their marking criteria? And then I think that I would literally treat it like an experiment and just hit those points as best I can. And it's not about being better than anyone else. It's about hitting what the marker is marking for, because they're probably finding it really tough as well. Because how do you quantify that? I don't understand. Like, I literally don't understand. So as soon as I don't understand something, I'm just going to go to that person and say, right, tell me what you're looking for. What am I aiming at here, so that I can just hit these points? And then outside of this marking situation, I can go and do other stuff and be creative and develop my art and develop my creativity as a player, as a musician. So that's how I would handle that. But again, I have no expertise in that whatsoever. So that is just that's just an idea off the fly. So I don't know whether that would work. But I really feel for this person, because their uni experience was years ago and they haven't played a gig since. And that is so heartbreaking to me. And also, it's so the opposite of what I feel like music school should be going for, like what they probably are going for, I should say. So that really broke my heart when I heard that. But I think that for them, what did I say to them? Oh, that's right, because they were posting little videos on social media, and I found that really interesting, because I was like, all right, so you are performing in a way on your socials, so maybe sort of take it to the next level, maybe post a little bit more and just notice. It's all about just noticing. Okay, how do you feel about that? Maybe what is the reaction to that? That shouldn't be as important, but it's inevitable. Then maybe and then normalize that. For me, it's all about normalization. And then off the back of that, maybe start doing lives, playing live on lives, and just seeing how you feel about that. And I'm sure the first one will be terrifying. The first live I ever did, terrifying. Every time I come back to it, the first one I do, always a little bit, I'm always, it's a bit awkward. It's a little bit, I don't know how I feel about this. But then once I start doing it, I'm like, no, this is actually fun. So then doing that enough that it gets normalized. Again, noticing the anxiety, what comes up, how can you mitigate it, and then how can you use it? Like, you might be able to use it in a positive way. And then off the back of that, maybe then just, book in a covers gig somewhere, like in a pub or something with some mates, or go to a jam and just get up and play one song, which maybe like a friendly jam that you know them or you know the song list or whatever. Like, there's ways to kind of just build upon it and just gradually just challenge that idea of performance anxiety and feeling like you can't perform live. Oh, it's heartbreaking to me, dude. It's heartbreaking to me. Like, honestly, the fact that that's how you feel after going to uni is just heartbreaking. Is the only word for it. It's just, I really feel for you. I really feel for you. And again, thank you for being so honest and open and vulnerable with me. Like, it is not lost on me. It really isn't. So anyway, I hope that this episode has helped you in some way in sort of giving an idea of how to deal with performance anxiety, and also the different kind of anxieties that other people are going through. Like, everyone has some form of performance anxiety, I think, to a degree. Like, and it really depends on the situation. Like, for instance, if you put me on a rock gig, I'm fine. Like, I'm just enjoying it. You put me on stage with Kim Wilde right now, I'm like, yeah, cool. We can have fun. There's no anxiety. It's just pure in the moment energy. Let's go. But if you put me on let's say something with like some salsa vibe or like Cuban or something involving the clave. Oh my god, my anxiety would be through the roof. I'd mitigate it as best I can, but even with all the work that I could do, all the hours I could put in without killing myself and being detrimental, it wouldn't be in my bones. I'd be able to do a version of or an impersonation of a drummer that could play that. But the reality is the guys that do that and the girls that do that, they've been doing that since they're like little, since all the time that I've been doing rock and blues and pop. Like, that's in my bones because that's just what I've grown up with. Like, it's just there. And they're the same with that genre, and vice versa. If you put them into a rock situation, I see this so much. Like, people think they can just play rock. I'm telling you now, I can spot someone that has not been playing rock. It's just they're playing all the right things. The notes are correct, but there's a depth to it that you can't fake, and it's the same in every genre. You can try and you can do a good job at trying to do that and do as best you can. But I don't even know why I'm saying this. Why am I saying this? Who knows? Oh, that's the reason that I would be anxious. Yeah. That would bring performance anxieties if it was out of my wheelhouse. I do the best I can. I do everything I can. But, it's always going to exist. It's always going to exist. And I think that's okay. It's part of being human, which is part of music, which is part of creativity, which can't be marked. Oh, mate, I really can't get over that uni experience thing. But anyway, yes, sorry. I hope that this has helped in some way. Please do feel free to like, share and subscribe if you know any other creatives that are struggling with performance anxiety in some way or another. Please do feel free to share this as well. Also, I'm now booked up for my Session Musician Accelerator program in August, but there are a couple of slots left for September if you want to start with me on that. If you do, probably best thing, go to... follow me on Instagram. It's actually the best thing. If you just look up emilydrums.com, you will find me, or you can go to emilydrums.com, or just come find me. Look up my name, Emily Dolan Davis. I'm everywhere. You can't get rid of me, but best place is definitely Instagram at the moment. Anyway, I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, whatever you're up to, and yes, I shall see you next week for another episode. All right, lots of love. Bye.